Hi, it's Barry Coombs from Computer World, joined today by George from Veeam.
Hi Barry.
What I'd like to get into today is the challenge around where things are going. Cloud is now the way that people are looking to go. Office 365 is generally the first trusted application that our customers are moving to the cloud. Now, when they've been on premises, they've got their Exchange server there, they're using Veeam to protect it with all your lovely not agents, but all the lovely recovery tools to be able to recover granularly. And people generally don't realise that inside Office 365, there's generally not a backup. There is archival functionality, there is a waste paper basket kind of thing, but if you accidentally delete a whole mailbox, the ways that Office 365 offers you to recover when it does are not particularly easy. So you still need to back up your data in your Office 365, don't you?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, it's a good point. So not just from a functional perspective, but there's a whole other reason why it's sensible to back up that data outside of not just Microsoft, any cloud provider, so you have a second copy of that in an independent and reliable, auditable fashion, especially for email. Okay. So the work we've done with our Office 365 integration, specifically around the Exchange Online, is allows our end user customers to essentially connect to the Office 365, and they can back up the entire organization or just a subset of individual users' data, and bring that down into a dedicated private data center or into an online typical Veeam backup repository. Okay. So it allows a scope of auditing and compliance, which some organizations are bound to, some organizations not so much of a problem. But in terms of actually protecting that data, you make a good point that yes, Microsoft's role here is to provide a very reliable and scalable platform for their users, but the responsibility of the data within that still lies with the end user, with the owner of that data. So if an email gets deleted or a mailbox gets corrupt, so on and so forth, then it's the user's responsibility to actually be able to recover out of that situation. So by default, Microsoft give a 30-day retention policy on a 50 gig mailbox. You can increase that and tune it up and archive it, so on and so forth. But still, nonetheless, we've seen circumstances where guys have had a laptop and they've set up auto archiving. It's downloaded the mail to some sort of PST file. To them, everything looks good because they're on the road, they're cracking on, they've got sent items, they've got their calendar, but they're downloading all the email directly into their local repository. And the laptop's died. The IT guys connected up a new laptop, hooked it up into Office 365, and it's only got maybe 4 or 5 days worth of email. So that's the startling awakening when you realise actually we need to actually back up the data from the Office 365 platform for email, Exchange, and bring that into something that we can control and manage.
Definitely, and I think for me, what I like around the way that Veeam are handling this is you still manage this from your backup server, from your Veeam management console, that it is taking a copy of your data from Microsoft Exchange Online, Office 365, and bringing that down to your local repository for you then to manipulate, send out to a Veeam Cloud Connect provider if you want that third copy of your data. So it is that kind of real single pane of glass. It's a horrible phrase, but single pane of glass to be able to manage your backup still, even though that we're now still talking on premises and we're talking Office 365 backups.
Yeah, I mean, if you do a restore request from a traditional Exchange server using our software, VBR, so Veeam Backup and Replication, the tool set that's included in that, like the Exchange Explorers, where you can navigate through the calendar items, sent items, all that stuff you'd see, all that good stuff you'd see in a user's mailbox, and be able to, do a one-click restore for those. That's the same within Office 365. So to the untrained eye, the guy sitting in the backup administrator in the help desk, it makes no difference where that Exchange platform sits. If it's on-prem, if it's in Office 365, or maybe it's a hybrid, that native organic tool set that you have with Veeam will be the same feeling when they're doing those restores, whether they want to restore a message file or a whole PST, it makes no difference. And then they can do quite a lot of creative stuff with it. They can rip it down to their desktop from a compliance perspective, or they can push it back into Office 365. There's a lot of creative stuff that they can do.
Definitely. I think that gives a lot of flexibility, gives you a lot of choice. You've obviously got the multiple restore points as well. So obviously, it's a kind of a first release at the moment for it, or it's in beta, is it? What's the status of it at the
we're
moment?
currently running GA, so that's version 1 at the moment. We have 1.5 out at the moment in beta that a lot of our community are testing. You guys are part of our community, always giving us feedback about how it's looking. That's bringing some really unique sort of features that are going to come. Once it goes GA, it's going to be really, really cool. So one of the things it's going to do is allow service providers like yourselves to actually offer the Office 365 backup as a service. We've got a history of allowing our products to be sold by the partner community as an enabler to deliver services to their end users. So the relationship is really from the partner or the reseller directly to their end user, not between Veeam, but our software acts as an enabler. So at the moment, that's a limitation with Office 365, so we're re-engineering that in 1.5 to allow service providers to stand that up and offer that as a service to their Office 365 customers and be able to protect their data that are living in Microsoft.
Okay, and at the moment it's only Exchange Online, it's only the mail data that you guys are supporting with Office 365. What does the future roadmap look like? Without giving too much away, what are you working on next? What are we expecting next to come into that product set?
Well, our product's uniquely called, backup for Office 365 for the main reason that Office 365 contains a large ecosystem of different products from Microsoft. Okay, so at the moment, yes, we're only working with Exchange Online. Or, that's the only thing we're protecting data from. But in the roadmap, we have SharePoint and OneDrive. So as we protect users' data on a per user basis in Office 365, as we add, or as Microsoft scale those applications or those SaaS applications, we'll be able to protect all of them in that Office 365 package for Veeam. Whereas a lot of competitors will use a per mailbox item just specifically for Exchange Online within Office 365. So what we're doing there is working quite heavily with Microsoft to protect that whole SaaS array. We're obviously cherry picking the ones that are probably most pressing at the moment, Exchange being one of them. But yeah, OneDrive, SharePoint are coming down the wire, and we can see guys using OneDrive on the road. We see how important it is for people to have a localized cache copy of valuable local endpoint data that they have that's synchronized to some sort of cloud repository. So, I can certainly see people using OneDrive on a far more important scale in the future. I don't know about you.
Definitely, and I think it's a reflection of how we see customers adopting Office 365. The amount of customers that we speak to and say, yes, we're using Office 365, you dig into it a little bit and they've simply moved their email from on-premises to the cloud. And a big thing that I'm an advocate for is that isn't a migration to Office 365. That's you paying a lot of money for a service that is multifaceted and you're simply using one of it that probably has no benefit to the user. Where we see Office 365 really benefiting the user is when you start training them on how to use OneDrive, OneNote, all of these kind of things that they're able to start being more productive by collaborating, by being more flexible in the way that they're working. So it's good to kind of hear that your kind of development is going along that same angle as the customer journey that we're seeing at the moment. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, realistically, you can see why there's been such an uptake in Office 365. It's a no-brainer. Running an Exchange environment on-prem, you need a couple, one if not a couple of Exchange experts to manage that environment. One's on holiday or sick. Emails are so important to the modern business. So, you can understand why organizations have been keen to get their data into Office 365 or some sort of hosted platform where they can offload that into. It doesn't mean that they don't need the Exchange administrators. You still need somebody that knows their way around managing a mature enterprise Office 365 environment. So that's going to be the same case. But there's been a big momentum behind it, big push. And I think that when they get to that nirvana zone, when they've got their emails fully into Office 365, they dust their hands off, everything is good, but realistically, they still need to think about the protection of the data and all the other applications that live within that, because the users are so, intertwined with those applications now. They're so dependent on them. And the availability of them is crucial to the business.
Definitely, that's it. So it's been really good to learn a little bit more about how your product interacts with Office 365. Thank you for joining me today.
Lovely, great. Cheers Barry.